I was recently reading a book called Feck Perfection, and it's by James Victor. And I saw the title, and obviously the title attracted me, but also there was a section in there. And when I'm reading a book, a lot of times what I'll do is I don't go from chapter to chapter. I'll go to the table of contents, find a chapter that kind of resonates with me, and I'll go right to it. But in that, there was one of the titles called Begin Before You're Ready. And right away, I was like, what's this one about? So, and I get to a certain part, and he writes this. He says, nobody's ever ready to begin. And so what happens is we want a few practice rounds, not for realsies, but just as a warm-up, just to get started. But the bad news is you're never going to be fully ready. You'll never be fully prepared, and the conditions ain't never going to be right. So you got to begin before you're ready, because you're never going to have all your pencils sharpened and lined up. The conditions are never going to be just right. Your ducks are not all going to be in a row. And sometimes things are not going to be certain. They're going to be uncertain. So the experience is great. And I recently read a book called Feck Perfection, and I love the title of the book. And when I'm reading a book, a lot of times, some books I'll go cover to cover, and there are other books that I won't. I'll go to the table of contents and find something that resonates me, some title of a chapter that resonates with me, that intrigues me, and then I'll go to it. And one of the titles of one of his chapters was Begin Before You're Ready. And in it, he writes this. He says, a lot of times, nobody's ever ready to begin. And so we want a few practice rounds, but we want a few practice rounds not for realsies, but just as a warm-up, just to get started. But the bad news is you're never going to be ready. You're never going to be fully prepared, and the conditions will never be perfect. You'll never have all your pencils lined up, nor your ducks in a row. You'll always feel uncertain about what you're doing and where you're going. So sometimes you just have to start. You got to begin before you're ready, because experience is great. Practice has its place, but boldness makes way for action. And chances are, man, in your life right now, you're probably waiting on ready, but ready's never going to come. And you're waiting for conditions to be just right before you do something. So you have these if-then contracts. If this happens, then I'll do this. But what happens is we wait until one day you got no weight left in you. It's your eulogy, and people are talking about what you did and maybe what you could have done. The fact of the matter is you got to begin before you're ready. And no matter what it is that you have in your mind, you can't live in the 8th day of the week, which is someday. And that's what we do. Someday I'll get around to this. But some days, dude, you just have to say F it. Man, you just got to throw it out there. And it's not that you're reckless. It's more so that you're bold. Because remember, experience is great. Practice has its place. But boldness makes way for action. And some days, man, you have to be bold. Some days, you just have to go out there and do it, regardless that you don't have the full experience, regardless that you don't think you're fully ready, because the fact of the matter is, you'll never be fully ready. I don't think life works that way. I think life, what happens is, she gives us just enough to get started. But if we had everything, then what would be the need in faith? Sometimes what you have to do, number one, you have to recognize that you have everything you need to get started. So get started. So you get started, and as you go along the way, you'll get more clues. You'll get more tools. You'll get success. You'll get more connections along the way. But the boldness is what makes way for action. But bro, you gotta act. So no matter what it is, if it's a video that you want to start doing, a video series, then turn your phone on. This thing right here. Turn your phone on, flip the camera around, and do it. If it's a podcast that you want to start, contribute. Do it. It's free. There's an Anchor app that you can go to. It's 100% free. You don't need intro and outro music. You don't need any of those things. You just need some content that's got some relevance, that's got some value, and put it out there. If it's that you want to be a manager, okay, well, and you're just in just a regular position right now, begin before you're ready. See, you got to start adding the logs. Eventually, man, the fire's going to come. But you've got to do, and as you do, the path will unfold. It's the same thing, a lot of times too. Like what happens is people. Okay, so say for instance, I wanna lose weight, and I'm gonna wait until I come back from this vacation. I'm gonna wait until why? Begin before you're ready. You've got to pay off this bill before you join the gym. Begin before you're ready. And what that means is, okay, you don't have enough money to go to a gym, then there are millions of videos on YouTube. Just search it. All kind of body weight exercises. You got a floor, you got a beating heart, you got breath, get on the floor and do it. Begin before you're ready, because you're never going to be ready. Ready is an illusion. Because you're thinking, because you've got this mental mind, you've got this mental model in your head, and you think this is what it has to look like, and it doesn't work that way. It's not, and the fact of the matter is, when you achieve that success, it's not even going to look like what you think it was. It won't. It'll be a lot different because the path was different. Because remember, the path that you're setting out in your mind is only what you've already known. It's what the rest of it you're basing on assumptions. But dude, you don't know how it's all going to unfold. You don't know what connections are going to come up. You don't know what life has in store for you, so you got to begin before you're ready. If you want to be a teacher, but you can't go back to school, or you've burned up all your student loans, or you can't, whatever, you don't have the money to do so, you're not qualified for student loan, whatever, begin before you're ready. Become a teacher's aide, and then do that. If it's something that you wanna write, well, dude, write. It's not about how many followers, how many listeners. It's not about getting all of the externals right and then you do it. You got to get the internals started, and the externals will take care of themselves. Remember, man, experience is great. You'll get experience along the way, and practice. You don't need a bunch of practice rounds. You don't need to do a whole bunch of research. A lot of times, man, you've got everything you need, enough to get started. So remember, experience is great. Practice has its place, but boldness makes way for action. And bro, today you got to be bold. Begin before you're ready. The path will unfold. Have an amazing day. Stay in the sales life.